Have you ever poured your heart, time, and energy into someone, only to be met with indifference or outright rejection? It's a deeply stinging experience, a feeling of being utterly dismissed as if your efforts meant nothing. As men, we're often told to man up, to suppress our emotions and move on without a second thought. But deep down, that rejection lingers, eroding our confidence and planting seeds of self-doubt. We question our worth, wondering if we were simply not good enough, if we made some fatal mistake along the way. This internal dialogue can trap us in a vicious cycle of self-recrimination. Now, you might have experienced the common pitfall: after being rejected, many men instinctively chase. They bombard the object of their affection with messages, calls, and attempts to explain themselves, desperately hoping to reignite a spark that has clearly been extinguished. They might send messages or make calls and try to explain themselves, hoping to reignite what's been lost, but here's the harsh truth: chasing only makes things worse. It gives away your power and reinforces the idea that your worth depends on someone else's approval. But what if I told you there's a different path, a better way to navigate this painful landscape? A way to reclaim your confidence, your dignity, and your very sense of self-worth? The answer, perhaps counterintuitively, lies in silence. Not silence as an act of petty revenge or passive aggression, but silence as a deliberate tool for self-control, personal growth, and inner strength. When you consciously choose to stop chasing, when you withdraw your presence from her life, something remarkable begins to happen. She begins to notice. She starts to feel your absence in a way she hadn't anticipated. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the dynamics of the situation begin to shift. Today, we're going to delve deep into why silence can be the ultimate power move for men, and how it can transform both you and the situation you find yourself in. We will explore the multifaceted layers of this strategy, understand the science behind it, and learn how to wield it effectively to not only navigate rejection but also foster personal growth and self-respect. This isn't about manipulation or playing games, it's about understanding human psychology and using it to your advantage while prioritizing your own well-being. Are you ready to take back control of the narrative and reclaim your power? Then let's embark on this journey together. Initially, when you decide to embrace silence, you might expect immediate results. You might envision that the sudden absence of your texts, calls, and presence will send shockwaves through her world, instantly making her realize the magnitude of her loss. But here's the cold, hard truth: in the very beginning, she likely won't even flinch. To her, life without you might actually feel like a relief, a welcome chance to revel in the space she's convinced herself she desperately needed. Why does this happen? It's because, in her mind, you've always been a constant. She's grown accustomed to your attention, your unwavering efforts, and your consistent presence in her life. She's unconsciously categorized you as a permanent fixture, something she can always take for granted. So, when you suddenly go silent, it doesn't immediately register as a significant loss. Instead, she interprets it as a temporary lull, a brief pause in the usual routine. She remains confident that you'll eventually come back, resuming your familiar role, because, historically, you always have. To her, this is just a passing phase, not a fundamental shift in the dynamics of your relationship. During this initial stage, she might even actively reinforce her decision, convincing herself that letting you go was the absolutely correct choice. She tells herself that she's now finally free, liberated to focus on her own life, her own goals, and her own aspirations, without the perceived distraction of your constant care and attention. She throws herself into distractions, seeking solace in social activities, hanging out with friends, meticulously crafting and posting pictures on social media to project an image of carefree happiness, or engaging in superficial conversations with acquaintances. On the surface, she appears completely unaffected, perhaps even thriving in her newfound freedom. But don't be fooled by this facade. This is often the deceptive calm before the storm, a period of superficial contentment masking deeper, unresolved emotions. For many men, this initial phase is the most difficult to endure. Witnessing her apparent indifference, seeing her seemingly happy and unbothered by your absence, can feel like a brutal slap in the face. The instinct to reach out, to break the silence and remind her of your existence, can be overwhelming. You might feel an intense urge to seek validation, to prove your worth, to somehow reignite the connection you once shared. But this is precisely where most men stumble and ultimately fail. They succumb to their emotions, allowing their feelings of insecurity and desperation to override their rational judgment. They break their carefully maintained silence, chasing after validation that simply isn't there, at least not at this stage. Don't fall into this predictable trap. Remember, your silence isn't about eliciting a specific reaction from her, it's not about manipulating her feelings or playing some kind of psychological game. It's fundamentally about reclaiming your own power, asserting your own self-worth, and prioritizing your own emotional well-being. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that emphasizes virtue, reason, and self-control, offers valuable guidance in navigating this challenging period. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to let go of what we cannot. Right now, her indifference, her reaction to your silence, is completely out of your hands. You cannot force her to feel a certain way, nor can you control her thoughts or actions. What you can control is how you choose to respond to her indifference. This is your opportunity, your pivotal moment, to shift your focus inward and prioritize your own growth and development. Instead of dwelling on her lack of reaction, instead of obsessively analyzing her every move and social media post, channel that energy into nurturing your own well-being. Hit the gym and focus on improving your physical health. Dedicate yourself to learning a new skill, expanding your knowledge base, and enhancing your professional prospects. Reconnect with friends and family members, strengthening those bonds of support and camaraderie. Engage in activities that remind you of your value, your passions, and your inherent worth, independent of her approval or validation. As the days pass, and your silence continues, her confidence in her initial decision might remain intact on the surface, but subtle cracks are beginning to form beneath that carefully constructed facade. She might not consciously recognize these cracks, but they are there, slowly undermining her sense of certainty. The absence of your presence, the void you've created in her life, is starting to settle in, like a persistent, low-grade ache. While she's busily enjoying her supposed freedom, while she's actively seeking distractions and superficial connections, she's unknowingly planting the seeds of future regret. Your silence, though seemingly unnoticed at first, is quietly but effectively working. It's giving her the space, the uninterrupted opportunity, to experience life without you, a life she initially believed she wanted. And while she may not consciously realize it yet, that space is beginning to feel emptier, less fulfilling, than she had anticipated. For now, your role remains simple: stay silent, stay disciplined, and stay relentlessly focused on yourself. This stage isn't about her, it's entirely about you. The man who doesn't chase, the man who doesn't plead, the man who doesn't beg for attention or validation, is a man who commands respect, both from others and, more importantly, from himself. And as long as you hold firm to your commitment, as long as you maintain your boundaries and prioritize your own well-being, the balance will inevitably start to shift, in ways you might not yet be able to foresee. Remember this crucial point: her initial indifference isn't the end of the story, it's merely the beginning. Your silence isn't simply an absence, it's a powerful statement. And that statement is unequivocally saying, I know my worth, and I refuse to settle for less than I deserve. So, stay strong, stay disciplined, and trust the process. The journey has only just begun, and the true impact of your silence is still yet to come. Initially, your silence might seem inconsequential to her. Life continues, and she carries on as if your absence is of little significance. But as time unfolds, a subtle shift begins to occur. It's not dramatic or immediately apparent, but it's undeniably there. Those first signs of emptiness start to creep into her world, like shadows lengthening at dusk. It begins with the small, seemingly insignificant things. She no longer sees your name pop up on her phone with a "good morning" text, a simple gesture that once brightened her day, even if she didn't consciously acknowledge it at the time. The flowers that used to unexpectedly arrive, brightening her space and reminding her of your thoughtfulness, are now conspicuously absent. The thoughtful gestures, the little acts of kindness, that she once dismissed or even took for granted, now feel like a distant memory, a relic of a bygone era. At first, she brushes these fleeting moments of emptiness off, dismissing them as mere inconveniences. It's no big deal, she tells herself. I'll hear from him eventually. He always comes back. But deep down, a tiny voice whispers a question she doesn't want to confront: what if I don't? What if this time is different? This is the subtle, insidious power of your silence. It's not loud or confrontational, it's not designed to provoke or manipulate. It's quiet and consistent, like a persistent shadow in the background that gradually grows larger and more imposing with time. And as that shadow expands, so does the perceived space you once occupied in her life. What she initially thought was a temporary pause, a brief respite from the demands of a relationship, now feels increasingly permanent, a gaping void that can't be easily filled. And it's in this growing sense of permanence that the first real cracks begin to form in her carefully constructed facade of indifference. She starts to consciously notice the void in her daily routine, the absence of your familiar presence. It's in those quiet moments when she instinctively reaches for her phone, out of habit, only to realize that there's no message from you, no witty banter, no thoughtful check-in. It's in the small reminders, like a song on the radio that you both used to enjoy, or a place you used to visit together, that trigger a cascade of memories she thought she had successfully moved past. These moments might seem insignificant in isolation, but they're the seeds of something much bigger, a growing awareness of the depth and value of what she has lost. At this stage, she won't readily admit it, not to herself and certainly not to anyone else. On the surface, she'll likely continue to act as if everything is perfectly fine, projecting an image of happiness and contentment. She'll meticulously curate her social media presence, posting pictures of herself having fun, spending time with friends, and engaging in a whirlwind of activities designed to distract her from the nagging emptiness within. But behind the carefully crafted smiles and the meticulously curated social media posts, there's a growing sense of discomfort, a subtle unease that she can't quite shake off. She doesn't fully understand it yet, but she feels it, a quiet emptiness that lingers no matter what she does to distract herself. For you, this stage is a critical test of patience and resolve. It's incredibly tempting to break the silence, especially when you sense that she's beginning to feel your absence. You might feel an overwhelming urge to reach out, to check in, to remind her of your presence, to somehow reassure her that you're still there. But remember, the true impact of your silence lies in its consistency. If you break the silence now, if you give in to your emotions and reach out prematurely, you risk undoing all the progress you've made. This is the moment to stay strong, to trust the process, and to remain steadfast in your commitment to yourself. Stoicism, once again, offers valuable guidance in navigating this challenging period. Stoicism teaches us to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of growth and transformation. Right now, both you and she are feeling the strain of this self-imposed silence, albeit in different ways. For her, it's the discomfort of realizing that life without you isn't as fulfilling, as carefree, as she initially believed it would be. For you, it's the challenge of resisting the urge to seek validation, to succumb to your insecurities, and to break the silence in a moment of weakness. But this discomfort is precisely where transformation happens, for both of you. As the days turn into weeks, the signs of emptiness will become harder and harder for her to ignore. She might try to fill the void with superficial distractions, engaging in shallow conversations, spending nights out on the town, or even seeking the attention of other people. But none of it will truly work. The absence of your presence isn't something she can simply replace with surface-level interactions. It's deeper than that. It's a void that speaks to the unique connection you shared, the depth of your understanding, and the unwavering support you provided. And the more she tries to avoid it, the stronger it becomes, amplifying the emptiness and magnifying the sense of loss. For you, this is where discipline becomes absolutely crucial. Use this time, this enforced period of separation, to focus intently on yourself, your goals, your passions, and your personal growth. This isn't about passively waiting for her to notice your absence, it's about actively proving to yourself that you are strong enough, resilient enough, and worthy enough to thrive without her recognition or approval. Every day you stay silent is a day you invest in your own future, a day you reaffirm your commitment to self-improvement and self-respect. The first signs of emptiness might seem small and insignificant on their own, but collectively, they are incredibly powerful. They represent the beginning of her realization that what she lost wasn't just someone who cared about her, it was someone irreplaceable, someone who brought unique value and unwavering support to her life. And as those signs grow louder, as the emptiness becomes more pronounced, so does the impact of your silence, resonating through her thoughts and emotions. Stay patient, stay focused, and remember that the emptiness she's starting to feel is the foundation of a valuable lesson, a lesson she didn't even know she needed to learn. And for you, it's a constant reminder that your silence isn't just a reaction to her actions, it's a powerful statement of your strength, your resilience, and your unwavering self-worth. As more time elapses, the carefully maintained silence you've created begins to evolve into something she can no longer ignore. What initially felt like freedom, a welcome break from your constant presence and attention, now begins to feel unsettling, even unnerving. The small signs of emptiness, the fleeting moments of discomfort, have gradually grown into a persistent ache, a nagging feeling that something is profoundly amiss. And she realizes, with a growing sense of urgency, that she needs to do something about it. Her first instinct, naturally, is to try to fill the emptiness, to find something, anything, to replace the void you've left behind. But here's where the real struggle begins, because what she's searching for isn't simply a generic replacement, it's not something she can easily find or acquire. She starts with distractions, the usual suspects, nights out with friends, fleeting encounters with new acquaintances, immersing herself in new hobbies, or scrolling endlessly through social media feeds, seeking a momentary escape from the persistent silence and the unsettling thoughts that accompany it. For a brief moment, these activities might seem to work, providing a temporary distraction from the underlying emptiness, a superficial way to avoid confronting what's truly missing. But distractions, by their very nature, are only temporary. They offer a fleeting respite from the pain, but they don't address the root cause of the problem. The void is still there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting patiently in the quiet moments when she's alone with her thoughts, when the distractions fade away and the silence returns. Eventually, inevitably, she tries to fill the gap with new connections, seeking solace in the company of others. Maybe she starts dating again, exploring new romantic possibilities, talking to someone new and exciting, or even reconnecting with an old flame, hoping to reignite a spark from the past. On the surface, it might seem like she's moving on, successfully replacing you with someone new. But underneath this carefully constructed facade, these efforts often fall short, failing to provide the lasting fulfillment she craves. Why? Because what she's truly looking for isn't just another relationship, another fleeting connection. It's something much deeper, something much more profound. It's the depth, the stability, the unwavering care, and the genuine authenticity you brought to her life, qualities that are not easily replicated or found in every casual encounter. And no matter how hard she tries, no matter how many new people she meets, those fundamental qualities seem to be perpetually absent. The people she meets might seem exciting or interesting at first, offering a temporary novelty that distracts her from the pain. But as time goes on, as the initial excitement fades, the inevitable comparisons begin. She notices the subtle differences, the ways in which they fall short of the standard you set. She notices the way they don't understand her as deeply as you did, the way they miss the small details you always remembered, or the way their conversations lack the depth and intellectual stimulation she once took for granted. These realizations build slowly, creating a growing sense of frustration and disillusionment. For someone who was relatively new in your life, someone who hadn't experienced the full depth of your connection, this stage can be particularly eye-opening. She might have initially thought you were easily replaceable, that another man could seamlessly step into your role without a second thought. But now, she's starting to see that what you offered wasn't ordinary, it was something rare, something special, something that doesn't come along every day. And every failed attempt to replicate that connection only reinforces the value of what she has lost. For someone who had been in your life for a longer period, someone who had shared a deeper history with you, this frustration cuts even deeper. She might have believed she could explore other options, dabble in other relationships, while still keeping you as a fallback option, someone she could always return to when things didn't work out. But now, as the silence persists, as the void remains stubbornly unfilled, she's confronted with the harsh reality that you're no longer waiting, that you've moved on with your life, and that her safety net has been irrevocably removed. Those shallow connections she thought could easily replace you simply don't offer the same level of loyalty, understanding, or emotional depth that you consistently provided. This stage is often marked by intense internal conflict, a battle between her initial justifications for letting you go and the growing realization that she might have made a mistake. She might question whether she made the right choice in distancing herself from you, wondering if she was too quick to move on, too eager to embrace the perceived freedom of being single. Was I too quick to judge him, she might wonder. Did I underestimate his value? Did I take him for granted? These questions linger, growing louder and more insistent with each failed attempt to fill the void you've left behind. And while she wrestles with her doubts and insecurities, you're continuing to grow stronger, more confident, and more self-assured. You're using this time to focus on your own well-being, to pursue your passions, and to build a life that is fulfilling and meaningful, regardless of her actions or opinions. For you, this stage is a crucial turning point, a test of your resolve and a validation of your choices. It's easy to fall into the trap of wondering if someone else is now doing what you used to do for her, if she's found someone new who is filling the void you've created. It's easy to become consumed by jealousy and insecurity, wondering if you've been completely replaced. But remember, the unique value you brought to her life, the specific qualities that made your connection special, can't be easily duplicated. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to let go of what we cannot. You cannot control her feelings, her choices, or her actions. What you can control is your own growth, your own mindset, and your own commitment to self-improvement. Let go of the need to compare yourself to others. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself, the man you've always aspired to be. As her frustration grows, so does her awareness of what she allowed to slip away. She begins to consciously realize that the people she's meeting simply don't measure up to the standard you set. They don't provide the same sense of security, understanding, or genuine connection that you consistently offered. And with each failed attempt to find a suitable replacement, the void you left behind feels larger, more significant, and more permanent. For her, this stage is a humbling experience, a harsh lesson in the reality that not all connections are created equal, and that what she had with you wasn't as easily replaceable as she initially thought. For you, it's an empowering reminder of your inherent worth, a confirmation that you are valuable and deserving of respect and appreciation. By maintaining your silence, by refusing to chase after someone who doesn't recognize your value, and by focusing intently on your own growth, you've shown her, and more importantly, you've shown yourself, that you're not just another option, you're someone who commands respect and leaves a lasting impact on the lives of those you touch. As this phase draws to a close, her frustration gradually shifts into something deeper and more profound, regret. But for you, it's a victory, a testament to your strength, your resilience, and your unwavering commitment to self-respect. You've stayed true to yourself, you've resisted the urge to chase or plead, and you've proven that your worth isn't defined by someone else's recognition or approval. Keep moving forward, keep growing, and keep trusting the process, because the best is yet to come. Regret is not a sudden, cataclysmic event, it's a slow creeping force, a gradual erosion of certainty that builds over time. It's fueled by the growing, undeniable realization of what she willingly let go. By now, she's faced the discomfort of your prolonged absence, the frustration of repeated failed attempts to replace you, and the unsettling feeling that something essential is missing from her life. And now, she's standing face to face with an undeniable truth: she made a mistake. At first, the regret manifests itself in quiet, fleeting moments of reflection. She remembers how you consistently made her feel seen, valued, understood, and supported. She replays those cherished memories in her mind, savoring the small acts of kindness, the shared inside jokes, the way you seem to anticipate her needs and understand her thoughts in ways that others never could. Each memory is like a delicate thread, carefully weaving together a vivid picture of what she once had, and what she carelessly lost. And the weight of that picture, the burden of that knowledge, grows heavier with each passing day. She might not consciously admit it, not to herself and certainly not to anyone else. She might continue to project an image of happiness and contentment, meticulously curating her social media presence to hide the growing sense of unease within. But the regret is undeniably there, lurking beneath the surface, influencing her thoughts and actions in subtle but pervasive ways. It's in the way she hesitates before sending a text message to someone else, wondering if you would even respond if she were to reach out. It's in the way she surreptitiously looks through old photos or scrolls back through old messages, desperately searching for traces of the once vibrant connection she now realizes she took for granted. These actions might seem small and insignificant on their own, but they're driven by a much deeper, more profound realization: she let go of something rare, something valuable, something she might never find again. For someone who was relatively new in your life, someone who hadn't fully appreciated the depth of your connection, this stage can be particularly humbling. She might have initially believed she could move on without a second thought, that letting you go was just another routine decision in a long list of choices. But now, she's starting to see that what she lost wasn't ordinary, it wasn't just another fleeting connection. It was something that brought meaning, stability, and genuine happiness to her life, and that's not something she can easily replicate or replace. For someone who had been in your life for a longer period, someone who had shared a deeper history with you, the regret cuts even deeper. She might have believed she truly knew you, that she fully understood your value, but now, as the silence stretches on, she realizes she vastly underestimated you. The life she thought would feel complete and fulfilling without you now feels empty and hollow, and that emptiness serves as a constant, painful reminder of the mistake she made. On your side, this stage is a powerful testament to your personal growth and resilience. The regret she's feeling isn't something you actively caused, it's the natural consequence of her own choices, her own actions, and her own flawed judgment. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we can't control, and her regret is undoubtedly one of those things. It's not your responsibility to fix it, to ease her discomfort, or to somehow make amends for her past decisions. That's her burden to carry, not yours. As the regret deepens, she might feel an increasing compulsion to reach out, to break the silence and attempt to reconnect. This could manifest in various ways. It might start with a seemingly casual message, subtly testing the waters to gauge your reaction. Or it might take the form of a more vulnerable and heartfelt apology, acknowledging her mistakes and expressing her remorse. Regardless of how she chooses to express it, the underlying message is fundamentally the same: she now realizes what she lost, and she regrets her decision to let you go. But here's the key takeaway: her regret isn't the ultimate end goal of your silence. It's simply a byproduct, a consequence of your actions, but not the primary objective. The real goal was always about reclaiming your power, rebuilding your confidence, and rediscovering your inherent sense of self-worth, independent of her approval or validation. This is where many men struggle, where they falter and risk undoing all the progress they've made. When she expresses regret, the temptation to rush back into the relationship, to forgive and forget, can be incredibly strong. After all, hearing someone acknowledge your value and admit their mistakes feels validating, especially after a period of rejection and silence. But remember, this isn't about seeking her recognition or fulfilling your own need for validation. It's about maintaining the boundaries you've carefully established and upholding the strength and self-respect you've cultivated during this challenging process. If you choose to engage with her, do so on your terms, not hers. Maintain your composure, remain grounded in your own sense of worth, and refuse to compromise the boundaries you've set for yourself. For her, regret is a powerful teacher, a painful but necessary lesson in the consequences of her actions and the true value of what she lost. It forces her to confront the reality of her choices and to acknowledge the depth of the connection she willingly dismissed. For you, it's a potent reminder of your own personal growth, a confirmation that you've evolved into a stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware individual. The man who might have chased, begged, or pleaded for her attention is no longer here. You've transformed into someone who understands his own worth, someone who refuses to settle for less than he deserves, and someone who is capable of thriving, regardless of her choices or opinions. As this stage draws to a close, her regret reaches its peak. She's left wondering if she'll ever find someone like you again, if she's permanently lost the connection she once dismissed so carelessly. And for you, it's a moment of profound clarity, a chance to fully appreciate how far you've come and to recognize the inner strength you've gained through this transformative journey. Regret may be unavoidable for her, a natural consequence of her actions. But for you, it's simply a stepping stone, a signpost along the path to self-discovery. It's proof that your silence wasn't just powerful, it was truly transformative, reshaping you into a more confident, more resilient, and more self-assured individual. So, stand tall, hold firm to your convictions, and remember that you've already won. This journey wasn't solely about her, it was primarily about you. It was about rediscovering your inner strength, reclaiming your self-worth, and proving to yourself that you don't need anyone's validation to feel whole and complete. Your silence wasn't a punishment or a manipulative tactic, it was a declaration of self-respect, a conscious choice to prioritize your own well-being. It was your way of saying, I know my value, and I refuse to settle for less than I deserve. Through this process, you've demonstrated to her, and most importantly to yourself, that you're not just another option in a sea of possibilities, you're the standard, the benchmark against which all others will be measured. The absence you created wasn't simply an empty void, it was filled with power, growth, and profound personal transformation. While she spent this time grappling with discomfort, frustration, and regret, you've been diligently building a stronger, more resilient, and more self-sufficient version of yourself. Stoicism, with its emphasis on virtue, reason, and self-control, teaches us to focus only on what we can directly control, our thoughts, our actions, and our personal growth. Everything else, her feelings, her choices, her opinions, and her regrets, is ultimately beyond your influence, and that's perfectly okay. By consciously letting go of what you cannot control, you've freed yourself from the burden of seeking her approval and discovered the incredible strength that resides within you. So, where do you go from here? You move forward, with unwavering confidence and unwavering self-belief. Whether she reaches out to you or remains silent, whether she ultimately regrets her choices or not, none of it defines your worth or diminishes the progress you've made. The man you've become during this transformative process is irrefutable proof that you're capable of thriving, regardless of her actions or opinions. You've reclaimed your power, reasserted your boundaries, and reaffirmed your self-worth, and that's a victory that no one can ever take away from you. This is your story now, a testament to your resilience and your unwavering commitment to self-respect. It's no longer about chasing someone who didn't recognize your value, it's about becoming someone who doesn't need to chase, someone who is confident and secure in his own worth. You've grown, you've endured, and you've emerged from this experience stronger, wiser, and more self-assured than ever before. And as you continue on this path of self-discovery and personal growth, remember that your silence was never just an absence, it was the loudest, most powerful statement you could make, a resounding declaration of your inherent worth and unwavering self-respect. If this journey resonates with you, if you found value in these insights, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. Hit the like button to show your support, subscribe to the channel for more empowering content, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, someone who might be struggling with rejection or seeking to reclaim their power. And in the comments below, let me know, what does your silence mean to you? How has it transformed your perspective on relationships and self-worth? Let's continue building this community of strength and resilience together, one step at a time. This is more than just a video, it's a movement, a collective effort to empower men to prioritize their well-being, reclaim their power, and live lives of purpose, passion, and unwavering self-respect. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you.